It's Election Day, and across the country, voters are heading to the polls. How the issues are driving people to vote this time around. We'll explain the amendments on the ballot here in Tennessee. Plus, what national races could mean the difference between a blue or a red Congress. We'll have an update from Capitol Hill in just a bit.
We're seeing a really pretty start to our week, but there are some changes in store. We're seeing a cold front head our way. I'll have details coming up.
WBIR 10 News at noon is next.
10 News is brought to you in high definition exclusively by Harper Auto Square. You are watching WBIR TV Channel 10 Knoxville. The news starts now.
It is Election Day, and people across the country and here in East Tennessee are heading to the polls. Good afternoon, everyone, and thanks for joining us for 10 News at noon. I'm Katie Roach. Today, tens of thousands of voters across the state will head to the polls to decide who will represent them here at home and in Washington. Voters will also take up other issues, including wine and grocery stores and abortion guidelines. The polls open at 8 o'clock this morning, and we will get our election coverage started with WBIR 10 News reporter Kelsey Pape. She has more on voter turnout. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Katie. We are live from Christian Berry Elementary School, where poll workers say people have been in and out all morning exercising their right to vote. Now, as you can kind of see behind me right now, there's not a whole lot of people here at this moment, but volunteers that I talked to say they are expecting a bigger turnout later on, as the polls will not be closing, as you said, until 8 o'clock tonight. So you're going to be voting on several things today. A couple of those things are extremely controversial. We'll start with Amendment 1. Now, this is a proposed measure that will give state lawmakers more power to regulate and restrict abortions. Now, if this is passed, the amendment would have no immediate effect on abortion in Tennessee. However, lawmakers would have more ability in the future to pass restrictions that the state Supreme Court has previously ruled were unconstitutional. A yes vote gives the lawmakers this ability. A no vote would leave the state constitution unchanged. Now, also another big talker, people in 80 Tennessee towns and counties will get the chance to vote on whether or not they want the opportunity to buy wine in grocery stores. Now, that number includes Knoxville, Knox County, Farragut, Maryville, and Alcoa. While it has its fair share of supporters, it also has a lot of people against it too. In areas where the referendum passes, retail food stores will be able to sell wine beginning July 1st, 2016. Now, if you are going to be heading out to the polls today, volunteers want to remind you to make sure that you have your ID ready. Again, the polls will be closing at 8 o'clock tonight, so you have plenty of time to get back out here. Live in North Knoxville, Kelsey Pape, WBIR 10 News.
All right, Kelsey, thanks so much. Well, there are also 3 other amendments on the ballot today. For several decades, a Tennessee commission and the governor have picked the 29 judges who sit on state appeals courts. A vote for Amendment 2 tomorrow would change the process by removing the commission. A vote yes for the amendment means judges would first be chosen by the governor, followed by 2/3 majority approval by both state houses. Voters would have their say after a judge's 8-year term whether to retain them. Amendment 3 deals with state income tax. Tennessee residents currently don't pay such a tax, and Amendment 3 would make sure that stays the same and gets added to the Constitution. Amendment 4 deals with charities and games of chance. If it passes, the legislature would vote on which nonprofit organizations that support veterans could host gambling events. Well, so far, election officials say the election day is going pretty well, but there have been a couple of hiccups. We're going to check in now with WBIR 10 News reporter Evan Johnson. He joins us live from the Claxton Community Center, where some voters there had to cast their ballots the old-fashioned way. Evan, what happened?
Hey, good afternoon, Katie. Well, what happened here at the Claxton Community Center is 15 people ended up having to cast their ballot by using a paper ballot, and it's all because one of the machines went down. Now, it wasn't one of the voting machines, but it was the machine that gives the access code, and you can actually see a worker on that machine right now. You see the lady in the yellow sweater in the back there. Well, that is the machine that went out earlier this morning, but I'm told that that machine was reset and things are now running smoothly here all day. People have been coming here to vote. You see there are a couple of people right now at the voting machines casting their ballots. Now, this isn't the only place that experienced a mishap. I'm told over at Dogwood Elementary in Knoxville, there was also a small problem there as dozens of cars were parked outside. Now, this was not because of today's election, but rather a teacher in service, which was over, as we told, about 30 minutes ago. Now, obviously, those who wanted to vote could not find any place to park, but that did not stop them from making their voices heard.
It's been slow, and it may be because the cars are out there and people are thinking they have a long line. We don't have a long line. You can get in and out in just a few minutes if you come out to vote.
Now, right now, you see the locked box that is on that table behind me. That is where those 15 ballots are being kept. Again, that box is locked, and the election workers did not touch those paper ballots. I'm told after the voter filled out the paper ballot, the 15 voters filled out those paper ballots, they slid the ballot in that box. That locked box will be picked up along with the machines later tonight. Katie, the polls close at 8 o'clock tonight, and I'm told if a voter is in line by 8 o'clock, then they will be able to vote. But you have to be in line by 8 o'clock tonight, no later. Reporting live from Claxton, Evan Johnson, WBIR 10 News.
Evan, thank you. Well, in other races, Governor Bill Haslam is expected to easily defeat his Democratic Party opponent tonight. Experts say he could win re-election by one of the largest margins in modern history. His challenger, Democrat Charlie Brown, hasn't made many public appearances in the race. Independent candidate John J. Hooker is expected to vie for a second-place finish with Brown. Incumbent Republican Senator Lamar Alexander is projected to beat attorney Gordon Ball this evening. Alexander won the GOP nomination back in August with fewer than half of Republican voters supporting him. If he wins tonight, this will be his third term in the U.S. Senate. In Kentucky, the Senate race between Republican Senator Mitch McConnell and Allison Lundergan Grimes is a big race to watch. Grimes is the current Secretary of State and had help on the stump from President Bill Clinton. But USA Today projects Senator McConnell will keep his seat in Washington. Races across the country are heating up in the final day, and the outcome of some could change which party controls Congress. The key number to keep in mind is 6. That's how many new seats Republicans need to take over the Senate. Here's NBC's Peter Alexander.
As Election Day heads down to the wire.
And that was Peter Alexander reporting. Now, this could be a long night. The Senate races in Louisiana and Georgia will go to a runoff if no candidate wins more than 50% of that vote. You can find more election coverage on our website, WBIR.com. We will also post the results live as they come in beginning at 8 o'clock. Well, it is time now to get a check of that forecast. We're going to send things over to Ella Dorsey, who's checking things out in the Weather Center. Well, Monroe County is now accepting applications for county sheriff. This after the man elected in August was found to be unqualified to serve. A judge ruled Randy White wasn't qualified to serve as sheriff, even though he defeated incumbent Bill Bivens by about 700 votes. Days after the election, Bivens filed a lawsuit against White and the Monroe County Election Commission. Right now, Chief Deputy Tommy Jones is in charge of the Sheriff's Department's responsibilities. Candidates must have 3 years of full-time experience as a certified law enforcement officer in the last 10 years to qualify to run. The Chickamauga lock is set to reopen this week, 10 days ahead of what engineers initially thought. The lock closed last week for emergency repairs, stalling shipments for East Tennessee businesses that rely on the Tennessee River for transport. Some business owners say they lost tens of thousands of dollars due to shipping costs. The general manager of Burkhardt in Knoxville says using barges is more cost effective since one barge can carry the same load as 65 trucks. Owners say the river is part of what makes this location great for business, and they're glad to see it open again so soon. A popular hiking trail in the Smokies will remain closed this week due to winter storm damage. On Monday, park officials announced Laurel Falls Trail to be closed until Friday. Up to 8 inches of snow fell on parts of the trail over the weekend, breaking several tree limbs and blocking parts of the trail. A tree uprooted near the trail, pulling out a 5-foot chunk of the paved trail. Crews are building a 20-foot-long retaining wall to rebuild the missing segments and remove trees from the entire 1.7-mile-long trail. Nearly $50 billion. That's how much airline companies are set to make this year, thanks in part to your luggage. And open enrollment for healthcare is almost here. What experts say you need to know. Coming up in your Money Headlines.